Okay, hi there, this is Kim Willis again, and today I want to address a question that a lot of people in the home business industry seem to get a lot of the time. And the question is, this is particularly a question that new people get, okay? And how do you handle it? All right, well, I'm going to give you the question first, get you to think about what your response might be, or has been, and then I'm going to give you my response. All right, the question that we often get as newbies is, how much money are you making? Another one might be, how long have you been in the business? And then it will go on to, then they'll go on and say, oh, well, how much money have you made? Okay, well, everybody who starts out is in the same position. They haven't made any money. When I started in the home business arena in 2006, I hadn't made any money either, obviously. It took me several weeks to get to that six-figure income level, but for the first 3.5 weeks, I hadn't made a cent. So I had to come up with a way to get around the question, or to address the question. So I talked to my sponsor, took on board what she said, added a little bit of my own, and came up with a formula. But how do you handle that question, particularly if you're a newbie and you haven't made any money? You know, some people are in this home business industry who haven't made any money after 6 months. And it becomes more problematic because you lose the advantage of freshness and newness, and can often be a big credibility issue when you've gone for a prolonged period of time without making any money. Okay, I'll talk about that one as well in a minute. But this is how I addressed it for that first 3.5 weeks when I hadn't made any money. First up, I borrowed someone else's story because I didn't have a story. And the golden rule is, if you don't have a story, use someone else's story until you do have a story. Okay, so that's what I did. My sponsor was making money, so I used her story. I used the story of other people in the business who were making money, and that served to take the focus off me, which is important. I wanted to put the focus on other people, which is where it should have been, where it should be. So I did that. But what I also did was to give people some sort of a success story. So for instance, within a few days I was generating leads from online advertising. Okay, now that was hugely exciting to me, even though I hadn't made any money at that point, because my number one concern going into the business was, how do we find people? You know, how do we get people to go to our website? How do we generate leads? How do we tap into the traffic flows that are already there online? Okay, I didn't want to do the old school stuff, right? I wanted to use the internet to generate leads. So within a couple of days of starting a little online advertising campaign, I was getting leads. I was being notified via email, congratulations, you've got a lead, you know, that sort of thing. So I was getting some leads coming in every day. So when I started talking to people and they asked me this question, how much money have you made? Well, what I would do is I'd say, well, look, I only recently got started. Obviously, I'm not, I don't make money. You don't make money immediately. It's a business, and it takes many weeks before before the cash flow starts to happen. But what I can tell you is that I've got stage one in the sales process working like an absolute treat, because every day I'm getting leads from the internet, and that was my biggest concern, and it's probably going to be a big question that you have as well. Give you an example. This morning I wake up, check my emails, and I see that there are 4 new leads there. Just came in overnight. Yesterday I had 6 leads. The day before I had 3. The day before that I had 11. You see what I'm saying? I had my own story going. It wasn't a money story, but it was a lead story. So stories really sell the business. they give people some belief and confidence that maybe they can do it themselves. All right? So the story is very important. So even though I didn't have an income story, I sure had a lead story, and I used that, and people got excited about it. And I also said that, look, I'm only new. You don't make money in a business immediately. This is not like a weekly paycheck. You know, job slaves think like that. They think, well, I've done the work for the week, please give me my money, right? A business isn't like that. It needs a little bit of a foundation building stage, and for some people that stage may last several weeks, for others it may last a few months. And that's basically what I did, and it worked. Because 3.5 weeks after starting, I had money. Money was coming in. And in fact, in that first month, I made about $9 grand. It was in the last few days of that first month. It just, bang, happened so fast. And then I used that story in that first month to give me more momentum into my second month, and I almost doubled my income in the second month. So it's not an issue as long as you have the right strategy, the right words, and the belief behind those words. That's the most important thing, the belief. You see, going into the business, my thinking was right. And having the right thinking is pivotal. If you don't go into the business with the right thinking, all of these techniques and tips aren't going to matter for a hill of beans. It's just going to mean nothing, because you will fail if you go into the business with the wrong attitude. So when I went into the business, I could see myself making money. I had a view that I was going to make money. That was it. Doesn't mean to say I didn't have doubts. I did have some doubts at times, particularly when I was getting closer, when I've been going for several weeks and I still hadn't made any money. I did have some doubts, but then, I was able to counter those doubts with some more positive thoughts. I'd go in to listen to some training audios in the company's back office, and that got me G'd up again, so I went and made some more calls with the right attitude. Making lots of calls with the wrong attitude is a recipe for disaster. You've got to have that right attitude, and if your attitude is a bit down, okay, go and talk to your mentor, listen to some audios, watch some videos, whatever. Do whatever you have to do. Read a book. Do whatever you have to do to get yourself back up there. But your core attitude must be one of belief, positive belief, that you're going to do it, and you're going to do it well, and you're going to make money. You will have niggling doubts, just as I did, but I was able to counter them. And then, of course, once the sales started to flow, well, my belief went through the roof. Then I had my own story. I didn't have to use other people's stories anymore, and it just made it that much better, because those stories were my stories now. You get it? Okay, that's basically how I handled it. That's how I recommend that you handle it. I think if you do it this way, you will do well. You'll do fine. Now, what about for people who have been going for many months, a prolonged period of time, and they still haven't made any money? Hang on, comfort stop. My voice, my throat's a bit dry. So for people who haven't made any money, you've been going for 6 months and you haven't made any money, what are you going to say to people then? Oh, well, I've been going for 6 months, haven't made a cracker yet. But, let me tell you about other people's success stories and all of that. It's probably going to go over like a lead balloon, because people would expect that you would have made some money after 6 months, even if it's not a fortune. They'd expect you to make some money and have some results that you can point to. Very true, absolutely. Look, I have had this situation happen to people, some people who joined my business, And what we've done is, what I've done is I've said, look, what you need to do is have a relaunch, okay? And tell people that you've had a relaunch. And give them a reason why you haven't made any money for that first 6 months. It needs to be a plausible reason. Maybe, I can think of an example right now with one of my team members who is making money. And, but for the first, I think it was like 5 or 6 weeks, she didn't make any money at all. It didn't really look like she was going to make any money. The reason being was that she wasn't treating it seriously. The commitment wasn't there, okay? So, but anyway, she had a change of attitude, which is critical. So she had a change of attitude. She went away on a holiday, and she came back raring to go. And 10 days later, after she relaunched, and she told people she relaunched, and she told people that, look, for the first 6 weeks, she was just jerking around. She was just clowning around. She didn't treat it like a real business. But once her attitude changed, she relaunched, and kapow, things really started to happen. And within 10 days, she did start to make some sales. She made 1 sale, and then not long after that, she made a bunch of others. And you know, she's been making money ever since. So that sort of illustrates what you can do with a relaunch. You just tell people, say, look, I joined the business 6 months ago, but I didn't really get started in the business in a professional way until last week. You see? So it's not a question of when did you join the business, when did you get into the business. It really becomes a question of when did the business get into you, you know? When did the business really fire you up so that you made the appropriate commitment in return? And we've always said that committed people get results, uncommitted people don't. So from the time that you become committed to the business and you become committed in a super positive way, you fuel everything you do with positive belief that you're going to make money. From that time, it shouldn't take very long at all to make money. Weeks or even days. That's all it takes. Okay? So that's my final tip. Do a relaunch if you've been having a problem and you've been in the business for a prolonged period of time and haven't made any money. Do a relaunch. Tell people about the relaunch. Do it with conviction. Do it with authenticity, and they'll buy into it, and you'll probably notice a huge increase or improvement in your results from there. Okay, this is Kim Willis. Bye for now.